From a filter in front of the lens to your image editor on your computer, there are many places in the image production process where you can change how your images is rendered. Somewhere in the middle of this is your camera, and if you're a JPEG shooter, the camera is the only place where those adjustments have full access to the sensor data. Picture styles are Canon's solution to this problem. They provide you, the user, with control over how color, contrast, sharpening, and so forth are controlled and modified, both in pictures and in videos. So this is part 4 in my series looking at picture styles on Canon's EOS R series of cameras. Well, most of what I covered in the previous 3 videos also applies to shooting in video mode as well. There are some video-specific limitations and differences from what is done in photo mode. Now, before I get to the differences, the first question you might be asking is, what do picture styles even do in movie mode? Now, the short of it, at least when they're available and are used, is they do the same thing they do in photo mode. That is, they provide you with control over color rendering, contrast, sharpening, and so on before the camera then converts that image into the output color space and encoding that is in the video file that you're rendering. Now, that said, the big exception here is that picture styles aren't the only way that Canon's EOS R's cameras go about doing this color conversion process. Which brings me to probably the biggest difference between photo and video modes. Sometimes picture styles aren't used. They're not even available. In photo mode, whether you're shooting RAWs or JPEGs, shooting in HDR-PQ mode, or using the multi-shot HDR modes, picture styles are used somewhere, somehow. Even in RAW, picture styles are used in the image processing pipeline for the image that you see in the live view, for the live and review histograms, and for the embedded preview and thumbnail images in your files. However, in video mode, things are slightly different. On cameras prior to the EOS R1 and R5 Mark II, for example, such as this EOS R5, picture styles are used in all of the video modes except when you are shooting in Canon Log. So they're active in the HDR movie mode, in HDR PQ recordings, and so on. Further, when shooting RAW video, much like in photo mode, the picture styles are available. They're included in the display's image processing pipeline, so what you are seeing in the viewfinder. However, like RAWs in photo mode, that data is not hard-coded into the video files. It is metadata that's stored with the image, and your actual video metadata or video image data is not affected. Now, finally, when picture styles are available, that is when you're not shooting Canon Log footage, at least again on the EOS R5 and cameras prior to the R1 and R5 Mark II, you'll find the settings to change them in all the usual places, including the quick control menus. However, like I said, when shooting in log mode, picture styles are disabled, and the menu entries will be disabled or grayed out as well, and the entries in the quick control menus, at least in live view, will be hidden. Now, with the EOS R5 Mark II and its sibling, the R1, picture styles cannot be used when custom picture modes are enabled when shooting video or in HDR movie mode. Otherwise, picture styles on the R5 Mark II were pretty much the same as they do on the R5. Additionally, in video mode, picture styles have limited sharpening controls. This is probably the biggest limitation and functional difference. While all of the color and monochrome effects translate from photo to video mode pretty much directly, sharpening does not. In photo mode, the camera uses the unsharp mask algorithm and gives you control over the strength, fineness, and threshold for the sharpening being performed. However, in video mode, the camera only provides a strength setting with no other options for your sharpening. Now, it's not entirely clear to me why this difference exists. It could be that prior to the R5, video resolutions were limited to at most 4K, which translates to just 8.8 megapixels, and at those low resolutions, there's just no need for more detailed adjustments in terms of sharpening. After all, Canon didn't introduce the more detailed settings for their photo cameras until the 50 megapixel 5DS and the 30 megapixel 5D Mark IV. Now, alternatively, it's also possible that Canon is using a different, more computationally efficient sharpening algorithm in video mode to support operation at all frame rates, including the 240 frames per second that's maxed available on the R5 Mark II, and that just doesn't support as much control. Either way, control over sharpening in video mode is more limited than it is in photo mode. Now, speaking of video, and raw video specifically, in many ways, raw video works an awful lot like the way raw photos do, again, with respect to picture styles. You can set a picture style in camera, and it will affect how the video is rendered on the live view, in the histograms, and even in playback. They will all use the selected picture style, but that picture style is, like raw images, stored as metadata, and the actual raw image data remains unchanged. Now, where this becomes relevant in the whole video processing side of things is in post-production. Different software will process raw files differently, and for example, if you use Canon's Cinema Raw development tool, it completely ignores the picture style metadata and processes the raw data in either Canon's log file formats or one of the several standard formats like Rec 709 or Rec 2020 or HDR-PQ or HLG. On the other hand, if you use Canon's digital photo professional software, the image side of things, to process your raw videos, then it will use the picture style metadata as if you set that, well, at least if it's applicable. If you're shooting in Canon Log, even with raw video, the log still disables picture styles. The picture styles can also be changed in Digital Photo Professional in this case without quality loss or quality loss considerations. After all, we are working with raw data. So if you shoot in standard and you really want the video in landscape, you can do that. Now, I have to admit, this one was pretty short. There's really not a whole lot going on with the way picture styles operate in video mode that's that different from what we've already covered about what they do in photo mode, and certainly a lot of the details like how color rendered is all the same. Now that said, in video mode, picture styles are something I really only consider to be useful for a casual shooter. I'm really here talking about somebody who's like, primarily shoots stills, but occasionally wants to grab a quick clip of something that, they're interested in or looks interesting, but they're not interested in any way, shape, or form taking this file and bringing it into an NLE and dealing with all the post-production and color grading work that comes with that. The only other use case that I can think of that really makes sense to me would be a photojournalist, and one using a camera older than the R5 Mark II or the R1, who really needs what amounts to being broadcast-ready footage that looks pretty reasonable right out of the camera in Rec 709 format. Basically, my thought process is that they're working in a situation where they don't have access or time to do color grading or even apply a LUT, and they really just need to be able to take something and ship it that is reasonable. But the reality is, for shooting anything more serious with respect to video, you're probably going to want to shoot in one of Canon's log formats. And if you do, the picture styles are not available. Or if you are using an R5 Mark II or an R1, shooting in Canon's custom picture modes, which have much more video-specific control over the image formats and settings. That said, I hope you found this useful, or at least interesting. If you did, let me know by hitting that like button. Also, if this kind of thing seems like it might be your kind of thing, please consider subscribing if you haven't already. Finally, if you'd like to help and support this channel, you can help us for free by liking this video, sharing it with your friends, and leaving a comment with your experiences. Likewise, you can support us by hitting that thanks button or buying yourself something you've always wanted from one of the affiliate links in the description below. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.